A South Korean ruling party presidential candidate enraged Ukraine people by Dr. Choi PhD from Seoul, Korea, with my apologies to the free world people who might have been offended by his senseless mentioning that added fuel to fire to the dire situation in Ukraine. This is the story. In South Korea, the Republic of Korea, the 20th presidential election is scheduled on this year, 2022, 9th of March. This is the man, and this is what he exactly has spoken in a presidential candidate debate broadcasted by SBS, a Korean TV broadcast system. Russia is continuing its fierce, unprovoked military aggression in the independent soil of the Ukraine people. Nevertheless, yet the Ukraine people are showing their courage with their firm stance against Russian invasion. There is a saying that the politicians decide, and one who dies in the war are the young people. In Ukraine currently, the same is happening. As an inexperienced 6-month politician was elected as president, despite of the NATO's unwillingness to enlist as a member, avowing openly that it will join the NATO, thus irritating Russia and eventually collided.
A Ukrainian soldier blew himself up to destroy a bridge in an attempt to thwart a column of Russian tanks from advancing. The Ukrainian military hailed Marine Battalion engineer Vitaly Skakin Volodymyrovich as a hero for sacrificing his life for the country. Volodymyrovich volunteered to place mines on the bridge after it was decided that the only way to block the armored column was by blowing up the bridge, the General Staff of the Armed Forces said.
Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде й далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні!
Thank you very much indeed for keeping Ukraine in a top and delivered the truth about the Russian aggression in Ukraine and about how brave and heroic is Ukrainian to protect our soil, to protect our future, to protect our freedom and our democracy. We are in the center of Kyiv. We are here to protect Ukraine, and the Russian position is about a little bit more than 2 kilometers from here. This is very difficult to explain. What does it mean in the 21st century, in the middle of Europe, to be awakened by the Russian missile attack, by the Russian air bomb attack, when the people are shouting, and this is the civilian who is suffering a lot from the disastrous Russian aggression. First of all, I would like to thank West for support, because this is the great demonstration that Ukrainian people are not alone. And the only scene of Ukrainian people is just, we want to be free. We want to be democratic, and we want to return back our country to the European family.
Well, residents of this city have been asked to make firebombs to help neutralize Russian forces. Pictures have emerged of people queuing for guns, with the government saying thousands of weapons have been handed out. Members of Parliament have also armed themselves. Among them, Sviatoslav Yurash, Ukraine's youngest MP. Last night he shared this image of him carrying an AK-47 on the streets of Kiev, and he joins me. Do you feel safe yourself? Do you feel that you and your family are safe?
I will be joining with the fighting for Kiev because there's no other choice now. We have fought in Kiev today. We have had Russian incursion in the north of the city. We have Russian columns heading for the north and for the eastern part of town. And we have to stand our ground. This is our capital, which we cannot give up. My family, I am from the western Ukraine, so my family is there. And even though every city in Ukraine and my hometown as well were hit by missiles from Russia and different kinds of attacks, still they're safe for them here. But I'm staying in the capital because that's the only honorable thing to do for a person who wants his country to survive this onslaught.
Free China, which is called Taiwan, also might be in the group of the Communist China's attack. But South Korea is in a similar circumstances with Taiwan as we see in this map, as a geopolitical situation of Korea in the Northeast Asia is as futures. 25th of June in the year of 1950, North Korea invades South Korea under the instigation by the Soviet Union USSR leader Joseph Stalin. The 38th parallel is disrupted, and the South Korea's territory remains little at the edge of Busan, nearly being demolished from the earth.
It's too late, my dear colleagues, to speak about de-escalation. Too late. The Russian president declared a war on the record. Should I play the video of your president? Ambassador, shall I do that right now, or you can confirm it? Do not interrupt me, please. Thank you.
Then don't ask me questions when you are speaking. Proceed with your statement.
Anyway, you declared the war. It is the responsibility of this body to stop the war. So I call on every one of you to do everything possible to stop the war. Relinquish your duties as a chair. Call Putin, call Lavrov to stop aggression. And I welcome the decision of some members of this council to meet as soon as possible to consider the necessary decision that would condemn the aggression that you launch on my people. There is no purgatory for war criminals. They go straight to hell, Ambassador.
I
wanted to say in conclusion that we aren't being aggressive against the Ukrainian people, but against the junta that is in power in Kiev. There are no more speakers on the list. This meeting is adjourned.
But then, the UN Security Council was promptly summoned and intervenes with the North Korean invasion to the south. South Korea was gifted with heavenly blessings because, as it happened, the Soviet's representative was absent at the Security Council, and in the 1950s, the representative chair country of China was then the Changae-seok's Republic of Korea, currently the Taiwan. UN's defense was activated directly. As the UN troop marched all the way to the North Korea, suddenly the Chinese Communist Army swarms into Korean territory under the order of the Kremlin of USSR, and Seoul, the South capital, crumbled before the massive human wave strategy of Mao Zedong's Red Army soldiers. The South Koreans and the UN troops strive to occupy more lands. It eventually ends with the makeshift borderline settled in the current demilitarized zone that exists till now as shown in the map. South Korea never signed the Armistice Treaty, meaning that South Korea is still in war with North Korea, and you might say that South Korea is also still in war with the current communist China, though they have established a democratic relationship since the year 1992. Red China occupied North Korea till 1958, though the armistice was signed in 1953 to stabilize and reconstruct the war-ridden North Korea. But the Communist China's real intentions were to predominate and undermine the Soviets' influence in Chinese-occupied North Korea. November 21st, 2012, candidate unification debate between current President Moon Jae-in and Ahn Cheol-soo. Moon Jae-in said, and to the allies like USA and China, in order to inform them about policies towards the North Korea, and to the allies like US and China, and to the allies like US and China. As there are Chinese influence in Korea, and there are approximately 1 million Chinese citizens who are living in South Korea currently. And although the current Moon Jae-in regime never admits its presence or its progression by saying South Korea never joined the Chinese OBOR, the One Belt, One Road initiative, the OBOR is in progress in South Korea secretly. South Korea could become the second Ukraine in the recent future. Let us see who is the real political amateur. There is a saying that the politicians decide, and one who dies in the war are the young people. In Ukraine currently, the same is happening. As an inexperienced 6-month politician was elected as president, despite of the NATO's unwillingness to enlist as a member, avowing openly that it will join the NATO, thus irritating Russia and eventually collided.